Hey everybody, we have a new sponsor and a special deal for our listeners of Karen Isn't Always Right. If you have any photos or documents that you need to scan, or videotapes, audio tapes, or film reels that you need to import, you should check out avgearguy.com. If you mention the name Karen Isn't Always Right when you order, you're going to get 5% off, and a portion of your order is going to help support the podcast Karen Isn't Always Right. All of those formats degrade over time and are sitting ducks in the case of fire or theft. Why not convert it all to digital? All your memories can be stored safely on the cloud or even a hard drive that fits in your pocket. AV Gear Guy has over 30 years of experience with all kinds of media, and they can accept orders from anywhere in the U.S. Don't forget to mention the name of Karen Isn't Always Right and get 5% off. For more details and to book, visit their website at avgearguy.com. That's avgearguy.com. Hey everybody, Christopher here with another episode of Karen Isn't Always Right. Today's guest is Todd Rapier. Todd is actually the very first person I've had on this podcast that I didn't actually know personally. He came to us from previous guest Jeff, and Todd comes to us with tons and tons of theater experience, and he shares just a little bit of that experience with us. So here's Todd. Hey Todd, how you doing today?
I'm pretty good, Chris. How you doing?
Good. Thanks for coming on the show. I really appreciate it. It's nice that Jeff kind of hooked us up, I think.
Oh yes, it's kind of gnarly.
Yeah. So tell me about yourself, because I don't know you. You're the first person I've had on the show that I actually don't know. So.
My name is Todd. Todd Rapier. I started working at Chucky's Crossplane back in '94, and I was 17 years old.
Okay.
I worked with Jeff about several months before he got transferred in '95 to Cinema North, and I worked with him back in '99 at Crosspoint. Took over as house manager when one of my other managers transferred to Springdale,
Okay.
Jenny Poodle, and he went to Dayton Mall in 2000. 99 and 2000, he came back in fall 2000. While my other manager, Vance Boy, went to Huber Heights, and so it was a relief working with him.
Yeah.
He made things fun and just relaxing.
Yeah, that's always nice when you can have fun at the job. I mean, I think that's why a lot of people got into this, right? Into movie theaters, is because it's supposed to be a fun job, right?
Oh yeah, Vance Boy, my previous general manager before Jeff, want to make people think that they were making $100,000 a year, and like they want us to be ourselves.
Yeah. So you started in '94. You were 17. Was it your first job?
No, I worked at Cinema Mill from '93. Cinema Mill Ace Hardware from '93 to '94. Before
Okay.
that, McDonald's from August '92 till November '92.
Okay.
That was my sophomore year in high school.
Yeah. So what made you decide to apply at the theater?
I just wanted something different.
Yeah.
The suits were interesting.
Yeah.
One of my blazers back in '96 felt like it was Captain Kangaroo.
That's a good look, man. It's a good look. So were you a manager when you first started, or did you
Oh
start?
no, I was not sure.
Okay.
I learned to try to pop popcorn, which was popcorn was not so bad. Just cleaning the machine upstairs.
Yeah, it's pretty miserable.
Pain in the butt.
Yeah, I remember when I first started, I worked for AMC, as you may have heard when I was talking to Jeff, and we had these polyester uniforms. So it was like a black polyester vest and black polyester pants and a bow tie. And I still remember cleaning poppers to this day. For some reason, I always got stuck with that job when we were closing. And so we had one popper at this first theater I worked at, and it would take me forever, but I was very detail oriented. I really wanted it to be perfect. And, but man, I hated doing that. And I go home and we wore white button down shirts too, dress shirts, and the cuffs of my shirt always was just ringed with yellow, and I could never get that out.
Now, when we had popping shifts during the week, we were allowed to wear our regular clothes and bring a boom box to listen to while we're popping.
So you just pop popcorn? That's all you do?
Yeah, it was like during the week. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
and the poppers are slow.
Yeah.
It took me forever.
Upstairs, was there not a popper in the stand?
No, not the time. That didn't happen until like '98, '99.
That's interesting because the whole, I always thought the whole thing about popping popcorn is like you want the smell, and you want people to hear that popping.
That happened in '98. They built one in 98 in our concession stand.
Interesting. And this was what company again? Showcase?
National Amusements
National
Showcase.
Amusements. Okay. Yeah. I've never worked for them. I've never actually even been in one. Those are primarily kind of out east, right?
They're no longer, I think, around. I don't think so.
Well, but I'm saying they were back east, right? Back in the
Yeah, they were located. Yeah, New York. Think couple of locations were out in LA, like Bridge and
Okay.
Philadelphia.
Okay. Interesting. Did you like working for them?
I like getting paid every week. No holiday pay, unfortunately, during the holidays didn't work out too well. But I got used to that.
Yeah. That's funny. So you started with National Amusements, and then take me through. So you worked for Jeff for how long, or worked with Jeff for how long?
I worked for Jeff. I was Jefferson back in fall '94 when I got hired.
Mm-hmm.
He got transferred probably in April '95. I was out of town to Cinema North. He became a managing director there.
Okay.
So I didn't work with Jeff again until like 99.
You get to
Star
work for him
Wars.
twice.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then he came back in fall 2000.
Dang. Is he a good guy to work for? I mean, you're gonna say
Oh
yes
yeah.
because we're on air, but
Oh yeah.
he seems like a fun guy to work for, right?
Yeah. He's intimidating at first, but he's just lets you be you as long as you do your work. I mean, he never really gets on you about stuff.
Yeah, I would imagine he's a little intimidating at first because the guy's like 7'2", but yeah.
Well, my first managing director, Josh Petrie, is like intimidating to me, but he's let me. He took me aside. He told me to relax, have
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah.
But, because he knew I cared. He didn't want me to make too many mistakes, so just
Sure.
told me to have fun.
I think that just comes along with the title of being a general manager sometimes too, because over the years, I mean, I don't look in the mirror and look at myself and think I look like an intimidating dude, but I've lost track of how many times I've had employees or hear through the grapevine that employees think I'm intimidating, and I really just think it's the title. I try to go out of my way, and I probably go too far in trying to make sure I'm not intimidating. I try to be as friendly as humanly possible to take the edge off and make sure people know I'm approachable and stuff like that. And that's how I see Jeff too. Sure, Jeff up front, just his size is sort of intimidating, but I think once you get to know the dude.
Back before Crossbind closed down in 2006, I would always insult his integrity just for the fun of it. I would call him Sasquatch, and
he seems like the kind of guy though that lets that kind of shit roll off of him though.
oh yeah, I would insult him just for the fun of it. He's like the only manager I think I would do that to. I've done that to several managers, but like certain ones you want to mess with because they take an insult to it. So
yeah. Well, I think a good leader has the ability to identify, when someone's being truly insulting and when someone's just trying to have fun and joke around. And, I have that ability, at least I think I do, to find that line, and I try not to let people cross that line, but because there is a line eventually. But I used to have this one manager who, she and I got along great for a really long time, but she would have this tendency sometimes to like blow people's hair back with some of the crap that would come out of her mouth when she's talking to me. And for the most part, I would be able to read, okay, she's joking, we get along well and stuff like that. But man, other people would see it and they're like, how on earth do you let her talk to you like that, So.
Well, yes, I would go back and check out back in the day when you were allowed to talk to managers back when they were counting money, when things were like slow.
Mm-hmm.
I would tell them stories about some of the stuff I've done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think especially back then, things were a little looser. There was rules and things of that nature, but I just think it just wasn't as strict as I think it is now. Especially from an HR perspective, because I think as time has gone on, there's been complaints and there's been lawsuits and things like that. And I'm not saying that everything that happened back in the, in the 90s was cool, and should have been happening, but I am saying like, you could kind of get away with things a little bit more back then than what you can do now because of some of the shit that went down back then.
Yep, I miss those days.
Yeah, they were fun. I mean, I did a podcast episode about my story, like last week or the week before. And my very first day of working in a movie theater, I showed up and I got there a little early, and I went into the break room, and I was down at the end of this hallway. Going to this break room, it has a couch in it and some lockers, and kind of that was about it. And I remember just sitting there in uniform, ready to go, well before my shift started. And these two teenage girls walked in, maybe a year older than me, and they're coming in, they're giggling and laughing and stuff like that. And I was just sitting there. They didn't even acknowledge my presence, but then they just get undressed and to change into their uniform. And I'm just sitting there. I'm this 15-year-old kid. I was like, what the hell is going on right now? There's no way that kind of stuff can happen nowadays. I mean, if it is, like, it's surprising, but anymore, I just think there'd be a complaint. It'd somehow get out, and, you'd have to put the squash on it. But I couldn't believe that was happening. So what are some fun things that happen when early in your early years of working in movie theaters that you can kind of remember?
Oh, let's see here. Well, we had the employee screenings. We had the holiday parties. I also, at the time, after 2 years of working at National Amusements, worked a second job to pay
Okay.
because I needed health and benefits because I didn't want to become a manager
Okay.
quite yet.
Yeah.
I wasn't quite ready, and watching how managers go through, I'm like, I wouldn't want to get an ulcer from doing that.
It can be stressful for sure. Yeah. So you guys got to do employees, like the company I work for now, only one person can screen a movie. But back then, I think it was a little, like I said, like with everything, it was a little looser, right? Anybody could go, any employee could go watch a movie, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I even remember too, this one company I used to work for, we could smoke in the auditoriums while we watched a movie.
Yeah, we used to do that until Scoy back in '96 put all no smoking signs around the building.
Yeah.
We couldn't smoke inside the break room. We had to go outside.
Yeah. I mean, it was crazy. You could smoke anywhere. Managers would smoke in the office.
When Jeff was a house manager back in '99, he screened the Mummy. He's like, here's an ashtray. Don't say anything that we're smoking.
Yep. Yeah, it was like, we would get in trouble from the managers if we didn't clean up our cigarette butts in the auditorium. Now, dude, if you smoke in an auditorium nowadays, you're going to get fired. Yeah, it was crazy. So did you become a manager eventually?
Oh, no, I became a staff supervisor back in '98.
Okay.
Back on spring '98, after 4 years of being there. So
Yeah.
How did you like that? It was interesting, stressful. I mean, at times I felt I didn't respect from employees. I asked them, "Hey, do you do this for me, please?" I asked them 5 times. I like being the bad guy.
Sure.
So
yeah, that's the tough part. You gotta have that managerial courage, and be okay with people thinking you're an asshole from time to time, and I think that's the tough part.
Yeah, and the tough part is setting a good example. Whereas certain managers I've worked with over the years didn't set good examples themselves. We watched them.
Yeah.
And then they're listening us about it.
Yeah, as a general manager, that's really tough from my perspective when you have an expectation of your assistant managers to be, like you said, setting the example. And it's like, okay, well, you can't go telling an employee to put their phone away if you're going to have your phone out all the time. You can't expect employees to be on time if you can't be on time yourself. That used to just drive me up the wall. It's like, how do you expect them to listen to you if you're?
First time I was late, this is like back in '96 when Independence Day came out. It was like 4th of July weekend. I lived at the time just down the road, and I was supposed to be there 8:00 at night. Overslept by an hour and a half. Nobody even noticed.
Oh wow! Yeah, that was a crazy busy movie. I still remember that weekend. Yeah.
No, I didn't get yelled at, and everybody was like, Todd, first time you're late.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think I remember when I first became a supervisor, it was quite a transition from being an employee into being a supervisor, because, for the most part, you're probably friends with a lot of the people on staff already. And now you're put into this position of authority. And so you're friends with them, but you still got to tell them what to do. And that's a tough balancing act, right?
Right.
Yeah. Same thing as a general manager too. Like I got promoted from being an assistant manager into being a general manager within the building, the same building that I had started at. And that's a tough act to follow as well, just because you're just trying to keep these people's respect and make sure they don't think that you're on some sort of power trip.
Yep. Yeah. So I was trying to tell them, just do your job, make me look good.
Yeah. I mean, that's the idea, right?
Sometimes
Take care of the
they didn't,
customer.
and sometimes they didn't, and I had to sometimes write them up for it. But I hated doing that. I mean,
Yeah. Well, what do you think is one of the more challenging things you had to deal with when you were a supervisor? Like, is there any kind of like situation that stands out to you that you're like, oh, good God, I wish that hadn't happened?
just trying like the man of customers yelling at managers, watching to see how I could handle the situation. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. Did you have a lot of particularly difficult guests or customers when
oh
you were
yeah, I
working
remember
there?
back in '95. It was like probably on the holidays. They raised the prices. Can't remember how much prices were back then, but two of my managers were getting yelled at, and one of my main guy managers, Tom Maxwell at the time, so much wanted to deck the patron.
Yeah. I've been in that situation before
I
for
think
sure.
it was raised to five back then. It was raised from $4 to $4.75, and they're complaining about that. Customers were,
Isn't
I
that
think.
crazy? Isn't that crazy? Like, I mean, I've been all over the country, and it's amazing how the slightest price change can really set people off. Because it's like, look, I mean, it's still relatively cheap, compared to a lot of other entertainment situations. So, or like, get people who get mad when there's a 25-cent price change, and it's like you're gonna get
Concessions
upset
I
about
can
that.
understand. Concessions I can understand, but like movies, I mean,
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing that I think a lot of people don't understand is that concessions is primarily where we're making most of our money, and I think movies have been around, movie theaters have been around for 100 years, and you'd think no one had ever been to see a movie before because every single time they always complain about how high the prices are, and it's like it's always been like this. Nothing's changed. I mean, they keep going up, but that's just relative to inflation, right?
yeah. I tell them blame the Hollywood actors.
Yeah, I mean, they are making millions, but we're just trying to do what we can on our end, on our side to make our money. So now, are you still working in theaters, or have you been out?
Yeah, I work for Cinemark. I work for Jeff. I transferred from Cross Point '06 because they were closing down because the Green was opening up.
Mm-hmm.
I transferred to Dayton South 2006. Just became a regular. I was a regular employee, just out sure on the weekends, and I work a full-time job in the week. So
Yeah, yeah, it's a good job to have on the side. I think keeps you
yeah,
busy and good income, and it's fun, right?
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So you were currently still up until just recently with everything that's going on.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Well, hopefully you're doing okay with the state of the world right now. It's a tough situation for everybody, I think. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
I'm
So,
I'm I'm looking at my theater job back.
yeah. Well, I mean, I think that's the plan for all the theater companies. As soon as we're ready to ramp back up, I think the plan is, regardless of who any whatever theater company it is, the plan is to do that. So, um, I think it's a tough situation all the way around for everybody, for the employees, for managers, for the company itself. There's a lot of uncertainty and unknowns out there, but we just got to remain optimistic that this situation is going to get better. And that's really why I was doing this podcast. Originally I started the podcast as a way to just kind of commiserate with other people about the difficult customers that we all have to deal with. And and then, when the COVID-19 stuff started up, it just seemed like it might be a good idea to get to know people like you who've been working in movie theaters for, almost 30 years and 25 years or so, and get to know why you got into it, why you stuck around so long.
Everybody who runs into me says, "You're not the owner of the company yet." I'm like, no, I
Yeah,
did. If I did, I wouldn't be working two jobs.
right. Yeah, I hear you, man. Uh, Yeah, it's fun. It's a fun job to stick around with for so long. I mean, it's funny how many times I've thought, okay, I want to leave this job and get away from movie theaters, and then it just sort of sucks you back in, right?
Oh
So
yeah,
yeah. Now I heard a rumor, and you can tell me if this is wrong or not. And I'm sorry to put you on the spot, but did I hear that you can sing any '80s TV show theme song? Is that right?
yeah. Hold on, I'm hold, shit.
I still got you.
I'm trying to get your the video on.
Uh-oh.
I did something wrong, so
That's
hold
all
on.
right. That's all right. We'll wait for it.
Okay, here we go. Sorry about that.
That's okay. That's all right. We didn't go anywhere. All right. So is that true? You could do any 80s television theme song, right?
Oh yeah, except F Troop.
Okay. I don't even know that. I'd heard of the show. I've never seen it. So I actually, out of just sheer nostalgia, when we all got quarantined, I decided to start back up with The Greatest American Hero.
Okay.
So you're familiar with that show?
Oh yeah.
All right. Can you give me like the first little bit of that one?
Dun 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 dun. Look at what's happened to me. I can't believe it myself. Suddenly I'm on top of the world. Should have been somebody else. Dun, 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 dun. Believe it or not, I'm walking on air. Never thought I could feel so free. Flying away on a wing and a prayer. Who could it be? Dun, dun. Believe it or not, it's just me.
Nice. Very nice job. So do you, when you're at the theater, do you entertain the customers with that ability?
Oh no, oh no.
No? Oh man, I think
Yeah,
that'd be a great
I
thing
used
to
to,
do.
I used to do concession stand back in Cross Point back in the day. I was selling. I would hum uh, Star Wars or Superman. Of course, I would get the two confused.
Yeah, I used to do the same thing. Yeah, when I was a little kid, I used to do that all the time. They are
And
fairly similar.
I would suggest a candy item along with what they were getting. So,
Nice, nice. So, did you, as you were working, did you develop relationships with like a lot of regulars and things of that nature? Did you get to
oh
know
yeah,
people pretty well? Yeah,
yeah, pretty much. I still see some of them to this day.
that's good.
One of my old managers, Mike Damon, back. He was a booth manager at Cross Point. He likes wrestling just like me, like
Hmm.
big time wrestling. So he and I would wrestle up in the booth just for the fun of it. The
Nice.
manager after the time, he's like, "Okay, guys, don't break anything. You're okay."
That's funny. That's funny. I remember when I was a projectionist, especially for this one company I worked for, a smaller company, Dickinson. We worked at this little 12 screen, but they always had two projectionists all the time. Which was a little bit overkill, but whatever. And so there wasn't a lot to do all the time. So, it was only 12 theaters. And so we would play games all the time. So we would play, a lot of times we played Gin Rummy. So my good friend Ted and I, we played a lot of Gin Rummy. And it got to the point where it was so bad because we would start movies late and stuff like that because we get caught up in a game that the manager eventually took away our cards, wouldn't allow us to play cards anymore. So then we would play Yahtzee. He wouldn't let us play yachts anymore. It got so bad that we finally resorted to playing Hangman because he couldn't take away pencils, he couldn't take away paper, and so we played a lot of Hangman. I don't think we ever wrestled. We would throw a football around a little bit, but you had to be careful. Obviously, the ball wouldn't land in the middle of a platter. So, did you ever work in the projection booth?
Oh no, I never did.
No.
I would help move friends for the booth manager.
Mm-hmm. That's stressful.
Yeah. No, but when I was supervisor, they almost were going to let me work in the booth. But I was like, the owning a friend looks too much difficult for me, so I'll just let you guys do that.
Yeah, man, it could be a little stressful because a lot going on, and you got to make sure you pay attention to what you're doing. And if you screw it up, there's hell to pay, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Well, good. Yeah. So you primarily worked concession and usher, right?
Yeah, I occasionally do box.
Okay. Which do you like the most out of all that?
Probably usher.
Yeah.
You can keep out of trouble.
Yeah. How's that?
Well, just like you don't get up as much like you do if you're like in concession, if you're
Yeah.
off.
Oh, sure. Yeah, yeah. With cash handling and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I always found concession, and I've said this many times, I always found concession to be kind of stressful for me because I don't like being kind of feeling boxed in, with a long line of customers basically getting pissed at you. That just used to stress me out all the time. But I really liked ushering because you could move around the entire building. I just didn't really mind. It just never bothered me to pick up trash and sweep and stuff. And you could still interact with customers, which is what I do like about it. it's just not one customer after another, after another, after another, after another, you know. You get to engage when you want to engage, unless you're tearing tickets, you know. So did you prefer cleaning or podium?
Podium.
Yeah.
I could tell a patron they look like somebody famous.
Okay. Yeah.
This is one guy came in. You look almost like Bill Clinton.
That's cool. Ever meet any famous people when you're working on the job?
I was ushering at the time, but Christmas '94, supposedly Martin Sheen or Charlie Sheen came in.
Ah,
Um, I didn't see him, so somebody said
interesting.
they saw him.
I've seen a fair amount come through the different theaters I've worked at. Out here in Colorado, I worked at a theater in the Denver area, and Prince came to the theater. I didn't get a chance to meet him, but it, you know, caused a big, you know, ruckus with him coming in. Theater I worked at in California, Metallica used to come in every once in a while. Worked at a theater in El Paso when Ben Affleck came in to see a movie, so that was pretty cool. And then in my theater, another theater here in Colorado, there's been a handful of different famous people who have come in, and then one in Boulder where a guy from Harry Potter came in. I got to hang out with him in my office because we were doing this event called There with Care. It's a charity event. And so the guy that plays Seamus, I can't remember the kid's name, he came in and we got to hang out. I hung out with him and his mom and his aunt, and basically just shot the shit with them all day in between different stuff that was going on. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah, before I came in October '94, I guess several celebrities that came in. I heard employees mention Cloris Leachman.
Oh yeah, I know who that is.
Of course, I heard she was a real bitch. She wanted to get in free as a special guest. The manager said no, got paid like everybody else.
Yeah. So I see the hat that you're wearing. Are you a sports fan? Are you a football fan?
Yeah, Bengals, and Jeff's of course a Browns fan. So he and I.
For those who can't see, obviously, I'm wearing a Chiefs sweatshirt because I'm a big Chiefs fan.
Yeah, congratulations on you guys' first Super Bowl. Or
Yeah, well, I've been waiting my entire life for that. But I bring it up because that theater that I was a projectionist at for a long time, I used to be concessionist as well, and Joe Montana used to come in all the time, and he was really nice. I never really had a problem with him. His wife, at least to my recollection, I think I was only 17 or 8. No, I was probably 18 or 19 at the time. I just remember his wife not being very nice, and she sort of had this really entitled sense, like super sense of entitlement whenever she came in, and kind of expected things for free or expected special treatment when they came in. And I always thought that was really annoying because it's like, look, you're the one that's rich and famous. So if anybody has the resources to be able to pay for everything, it would be you, right? I just never understood that. Like, I don't know why do the rich people get free ticket? And I had this manager who would always let them in for free. It's like, bro, they've got the money, you know?
Yeah, one of my managers, old manager, when she was working at Dayton Mall years ago, Kenny Rogers came in, and she said he was like the rudest person she had to deal with.
Oh, that's too bad. Yeah, he just passed away recently, I think.
Yep.
Yeah, some people like to say Kenny Chesney, but it was actually Kenny Rogers. That's a dig at one of my friends that was on my podcast recently. Yeah, so I always thought that was pretty cool because there's been a handful of times when I got to meet famous people coming in, whether they're actors or athletes or whatever. And then when we go on our conventions, at least with the company I'm with now, most of the time they're in Vegas, and whether it's during CinemaCon or something else like that. And so we've gotten to meet different famous people because of that. So like Ron Howard I've met, and Will Smith and John Cena, people like that. So that's always a trip. Kevin Hart. And so it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool to meet them. I'd love to be able to actually have more than 5 seconds with somebody to actually get to know them a little bit. And I get starstruck easily. I don't know about you, but I'm kind of, I don't know what it is. A lot of people get, they take pride in the fact they don't get starstruck when they see somebody famous. And I'm like a little girl seeing Justin Bieber sometimes, So I don't know what my problem is, but I don't know. I just think it's cool. Like, have you ever heard the phrase, people like to see, how does that phrase go? Ordinary people do extraordinary things, and they like to see extraordinary people do ordinary things. You know what I mean? And so I think that's why it trips me out all the time when I see somebody famous. So are you looking forward to getting back to work when all this is done?
I got a full-time job right now. Been in that for several years, but
that's good.
But I'm kind of still looking for part-time until the theaters open up
Mm-hmm.
Can't sit around waiting for unemployment to come in because who knows?
Yeah, I know. Join the 7 million other people that are waiting on it, you know? So what do you look forward to the most about being able to go back to work at the theater? Like, what do you miss the most right now?
I miss the some employees, a couple of managers. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
just joking around with managers. uh, we, me and managers always insult each other in a joking way half the
Yeah,
time.
yeah. It's the fun part, right? It's always the people. You know, I think that's the pattern I've seen in talking with everybody about this kind of stuff is it always comes down to the people, right? That's what makes this job great. You know, I think it's just so sad that we can't see all of our friends. You know.
Yeah, I told a few of my friends, I'm gonna hug my enemy as soon as all this is over with.
Yeah, well, it really does put things in perspective, right? You know,
Yeah,
the people you think you don't really like, and then as soon as they're not around in your life anymore to be able to give them some shit, suddenly it's like, they're probably not that bad after all, you know. So, and I thought a lot about that too. You know, there's been people, you know, that I've worked at a lot of different theaters, and I look back on it now, and it's like, Jesus, man, what I wouldn't give to be able to work a shift with somebody I didn't think I really liked working shifts with before. You know, just to have that contact, just be able to maybe complain a little bit. Like, you know, I'm big into positivity, but sometimes, I don't know, venting about shit, sometimes it just gets it out of your system a little bit. And it's nice to be able to do that with some people. But yeah, it's definitely something I miss for sure. So, well, Todd, I think this was a lot of fun. I think you did a great job coming on here and sharing some of the things that you love about working in a theater, and maybe
oh yeah.
we'll be able to do this again sometime. All right. So
Hopefully all of us will be back to work here soon.
yeah, and that'll, you know, that'll be great. And if we are, then I'll have you back on, and we can talk about all the fun stuff that we're able to do. And in the meantime, I think we're gonna wrap this up. All right.
Hey, enjoyed talking to you.
Likewise, man. Thanks for coming on. You take care.
Thank you. Bye.
That's the podcast, folks. If you're a fan of Karen Isn't Always Right, you can show your support in two ways. First, please share with your friends and get them listening. Also, please feel free to donate by going to anchor.fm/Chris-Fry, that's Frey, /support. Please visit KIARpodcast.com, KIAR podcast.com, and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter. New episodes are posted weekly on KIARpodcast.com, Anchor.fm, Spotify, Apple, and pretty much wherever you can listen to a podcast. The views and opinions on this podcast are solely that of the guest and the host and are not representative of any organizations or individuals. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next time.